What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today, guys, we are doing another tier list. Yippee! Yep, I thought, it's been a long time since I've done one of these. What is it, like a day? And I thought, what better else to do than a tier list of every Doctor Who series? Well, I'm really scraping the bottom of the barrel this time. No, I actually think this is important. I've got to document all of this. Put it in the archives. And I mean, it's quite standard, right? Doing a tier list of your favorite Doctor Who series. Everyone's done this, right? I'm just justifying it to myself at this point. We better start. Let's just get right into it with Series 1. Where else should Series 1 go but S tier? Well, A tier. I think that this one can fit in S tier, but right now I kind of want to keep it in A. A is a great baseline, by the way. This is a brilliant series, introducing the new Doctor, the new companion, the new style of the show, the new format. It's introducing a lot of things. Actually, who am I kidding? This is S tier. There's so much great stuff here. It's not a perfect series by any measure. There are some parts of it that have aged poorly, but I really do think, the world that's built here is genuinely really cool. If you've seen my other tier list for Series 1, how many episodes I've ranked in S tier in that series? I don't know though. I think the average was A. No. How about this, guys? We keep it in S tier and then later on we'll decide if comparatively it drops to A. I think this series scores all fronts. Is that a saying? I don't fucking know. It has a great finale. It has a great mid-series portion of the season. What more can you ask for? Thumbs up, S tier. Series 2 is going straight in F. Just kidding, guys. I'm gonna put that one in D as well. I don't think this series is F tier. I just think it's very, very bad. Do I think any series is F tier? Probably not. This is up there contender for my least favorite series, which if you haven't watched my previous videos may come as quite a shock, but if you actually go back and watch a lot of the episodes in this series, you'll be surprised that quite a lot of them are shit. And by quite a lot of them, I mean basically every episode apart from the finale. The finale isn't a masterpiece by any measure, but it's got Daleks vs Cybermen. That was awesome. What more can I ask from an episode? I very clearly am not invested in the 10th Doctor and Rose. I know some people, that's their whole thing, not us. And that's what the main focus of this series is on, between the romance between our two main characters, something which I cannot stand. I don't like New Earth, I don't like Fear Her. Surprisingly, Love and Monsters, just because of how batshit it is. Actually, Love and Monsters is probably in my upper half, which is saying something. Yeah, I don't think it's F though. It's not like irredeemably terrible. As I mentioned, the finale's pretty good. Series 3 on the other hand, boom, this goes S tier easy. I love this series. I mentioned this in a previous video and I don't know if I stand by it, but Series 3 may be my favorite Russell T Davies series. This is a really good series. Of course, it introduced Martha. You guys know I love Martha. And the quality of episodes, especially that last stretch of 5 or so episodes, is just banger after banger after banger. And I think the series visually also heavily upgrades from Series 2. If anything, I think the jump in quality between Series 2 and Series 3 may be one of, if not the most drastic in Doctor Who history, rivaled only by season 24 and 25. And Series 4, I kind of wanted to be mean and put this one in A tier. It's S tier though, come on. A solid 80% of the episodes in this series are bangers. I don't think it can be lower than A tier at the lowest. There are cons, of course. The story arc in this series is heavily lacking. If you include the specials, that drastically lowers the average of the series. But you've got Donna, you've got episodes like Turn Left. God damn, what a masterpiece. You got The Stolen Earth, which is just like the epitome of hype. Everything I, as a Dalek fan, have been asking for. Is Journey's End a bit crap? Yeah, but I still like it. I'm a Doctor Who fan. I can like things which are a bit crap because it was awesome. As I mentioned before, The Darkness is a bit lame, but I don't think lame enough to drag it down. I don't think it takes away from anything. I just think that it doesn't add stuff which the previous seasons added in terms of their story arcs, like Bad Wolf and Vote Saxon. I think both of those vastly outclass Series 4 in terms of story arc. Series 5, damn, it's almost like I'm a fan of Doctor Who because I'm going to put this one in S tier as well. Now, me and Matt Smith, we go way back. Some would say I'm the reverse, but still, this series is a banger. I really enjoy, more than 75% of the episodes in this series. Is there even an episode that I dislike in this series? Maybe there is. Maybe I'm forgetting one. I need to go back and rewatch my old videos. Haha. Why is no one laughing? This one again has a much superior story arc than series 4. It's a very thought out series. It comes to a climax at the very end with the big bang. But series 6 breaks the streak of S tiers, but I'm actually going to put in A tier. A lot of people say this is one of their least favorite series, or lesser favorite series, should I say. I still really enjoy this one. There are definite stinkers lurking. There are certain aspects which I'm not really a fan of. The story arc is crazy, let's just say that, but it also has some bangers. The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon will always stand out to me. Those are incredible episodes, and the dynamics between the characters are just inherently enjoyable. Steven Moffat did a really good job with that. Series 7 is not as good. I'm actually gonna be kind to it and put it in B tier. It isn't, well, I was gonna say it isn't terrible, but I know a lot of people do think it's terrible, and if you want to think it's terrible, that's fine. That's totally your opinion. I enjoy it. I think it's more bad than good, which is maybe why putting it in B tier is wrong, and the story arc is terrible. Both sides. I mean, the first half doesn't have a story arc. There were theories that originally it was meant to, and it was cut, and then the Series 7B storyline just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But I guess it just has to be nostalgia. I have a really nice warm feeling coming back to certain number of episodes. I was gonna say most of these, but nah, it's not. Frankly, most of these episodes I actually don't like. And of course it has both Asylum of the Daleks and Nightmare in Silver, which is just both crap. So maybe B is too high. Maybe I'm being too generous. As I said, I'm gonna re-look over the list as a finishing touch at the very end of the video. And here we are with Series 8, which I'm tempted to put in F tier, but no, I'm not gonna be awfully mean to this series. D tier is where it goes. This is probably my least favorite series of the modern era. I think I dislike this more than Series 2. It's just not fun to sit through. I think Clara's character actually takes a nosedive. Some people say in Series 7, or should I say Series 7B, Clara isn't much of a character. In Series 8, I think Clara is a character. I just think she's an unlikable one, which is a shame because I think Jenna Coleman is an incredible actress. I just think that they intentionally make her unlikable. The stuff with Danny, all of that. I mean, it's not like I'm a big fan of Danny either. I think the series starts promising and then it gets worse and worse. And then of course you have Flatline, which is a banger. It may overall, like on average, be the difference that puts Series 8 over Series 2, but then you realize the lows that Series 8 goes to, you know, in the Forest of the Night, and then of course the worst finale in Doctor Who history at the very end there. Poor Peter Capaldi, I don't really know what they were thinking. This one feels like a miss to me. I know there are some people out there who really defend this one. They say they really enjoy it. I tried. I genuinely did. I've rewatched all these episodes quite a number of times. They're just unpleasant to me. Series 9 is one which I fully came around on. Not to say that I like it, I just don't dislike it as much as I used to. Before, this was my least favorite series, more so than Series 8, which is crazy because while it was airing, I went into it thinking it was going to address my criticisms of Series 8. Maybe that's why I was so burned on it. And there are so many aspects of this series which I dislike, frankly. I think I'm still gonna put it in D tier, but it's a higher D than both Series 2 and Series 8 because I've come round to what Steven Moffat was thinking while he was doing it, whereas before I was baffled by episodes like The Witch is Familiar and The Magician's Apprentice, just awful pieces of shit. I also think this series looks better than both Series 8 and Series 10, especially Series 10. It does have a nice visual style, this series. There are certain episodes, Sleep No More, which look incredibly ugly, and it's not the most visually appealing series, or even in Steven Moffat's era. I would probably say that I prefer the look of Series 5 and 6 over it, but it does have a unique visual style rather than the greys of Series 8, the oppressive greys. Is Clara better here than she is in Series 8? Maybe. I still think she's pretty bad, and she redoes the exact same character arc that she had in Series 8, except this time it has a worse ending. I don't hate Hellbent as much as some people do. I also don't love Heaven Sent as much as some people do. When you put them together and see them as the two-parter that they're intended to be, they're okay, they're above average, they're fun, they're good, average 7.5, 8 out of 10. Hellbent is probably a 6. Heaven Sent is probably an 8. So yeah, they probably balance out to a 7. I know some people are obsessed with Heaven Sent and they swear it's the best episode of all time, but you've got to consider it as the full story. I would say that Heaven Sent as an episode gets better if you consider it as a standalone, but it isn't a standalone, so you know that kind of drags it down. And yeah, there are so many stinkers throughout this series. I also think Peter Capaldi is a little worse. This is the series where he has his worst characterization with the Dr. Disco stuff. I also don't like the hoodie. I know that's a bit of a nitpick, but is what it is. Series 10 I think is an upgrade. Do I put Series 10 in A tier? You guys are gonna hate me. So when Series 10 first came out, I loved it. Genuinely, I did. After Series 9, Series 10 felt like such a breath of fresh air. It felt like we were finally going back to something we should have gone back to a long time ago. It had simple stories, a good finale, a concise story arc that wasn't overbearing and needlessly confusing, and it had a nice, solid TARDIS team that weren't obnoxious. Everything that you could want. But on my subsequent rewatches, especially recent rewatches, my opinion of the series has drastically gone down. Number one, it looks terrible. This is the worst looking Peter Capaldi series and potentially the worst looking Stephen Moffat series. Now I know that's kind of a budgeting thing, but still I've got to say it is very noticeable. There are only certain episodes, like I would say Knock Knock looks pretty cool. It's way too brightly lit. Bill as a character really ranges from schizophrenic weirdo to pretty cool, and she does come round by the end. I think some people may be convinced that Bill is just a consistently great character because she is good in the finale and that's all they remember. But in episodes like Lie of the Land, where they really rely on Bill, like Lie of the Land is Bill's story, it's all centered around Bill. She really doesn't pull through, and I think the Monk trilogy in general kind of highlights where Series 10 flops, because that trilogy is just a flop. Like, I love Extremis. I said in my video I liked Extremis, but the other two, I don't know what they were cooking with those. And the average quality of the episodes, it's middling. They're generic stories. They're not really saying a lot. The Eaters of Light, that may just be the most mid story ever. Like, that may just be the middest Doctor Who episode of all time. The 12th Doctor's characterization is probably at its best here, I would say, in Series 10, but I don't know if that's enough to save it. I don't want to put it in C tier. I'm going to put it in B. A nice solid B. I do enjoy the series, I just don't enjoy it as I once did, and probably overall, this looks and sounds weird considering the two placements on the tier list and what I've said about it. I would probably say that Series 9 is the more definitive 12th Doctor series. I feel like to showcase the 12th Doctor and his era, Series 9 would be the best of that. Does that make sense? I hope so. Boy, oh boy, time for the controversial one. Series 11, that shit goes straight in S tier. I know you guys are disliking my video already. I know it. I can feel it. The comment section is going to be like, what? I feel like I've talked about this enough. This series is underrated as fuck. It is an underrated gem, legitimately. Number one, it looks incredible. This is the best looking Doctor Who series to this day, visually. And I think people who shit on it don't really remember it. I genuinely think that. I would say that the finale is pretty bad and it lets it down, and that's the last impression that people get of this series, which I'm not going to say that the finale is the worst episode of Doctor Who of all time, but I'm definitely not going to say it is good. It's a first draft. We know Chris Chibnall said it's a first draft. I think it's well put together, but the script really lets it down. It's kind of a mess, and it has all those telltale signs of the stereotypical Chibnall messy script. But the rest, oh my days, you guys are really sleeping on some of these stories. Rosa, Demons of the Punjab, It Takes You Away. These are all solid S tier bangers. There's so many bad criticisms floating around for this series. I understand that some people can dislike it for legitimate reasons, but I would say that the majority of people who have the consensus that this is the worst series of Doctor Who, and I would say that is probably the fan consensus overall, I think that is unequivocally false. And I think most people are basing that off nothing but maybe vibes. The Woman Who Fell to Earth is a great opener. It looks visually great. Even a story like Arachnids in the UK, which I will be the first to admit, when the episode first aired, I shat on it massively. But looking back, it has some really good stuff in there. Yeah, we didn't need that Stormzy spider scene, one of the worst scenes scenes in Doctor Who, still stand by it. But the stuff with Graham in the house and that final scene of, you know, everyone coming together, oh my days, that is really good. Even in the worst episodes, I would say there are still some really good moments. And due to the lowered episode count, the average is high. I also rewatched this series quite a lot. This is probably one of, if not my most rewatched modern series of Doctor Who. So that is up there. And yeah, overall, I think S tier is where this belongs. You guys can call me biased. You can call me a Chibnall defender all you want. I think he's the GOAT personally, but you know, I think all of them are the GOATs. However, I must say, I don't think of Series 12 as highly. I'm actually gonna put that one in C tier. It is definitely above all of the series that are in D tier by a mile, but it's also a deeply flawed series, to say the least. I think it starts strong enough with Spyfall 1 and 2, but there is a noticeable step down in quality. This feels like Chibnall abandoning his own vision to fall back on a more safe option. It feels like Chibnall trying to do a Russell T Davies series. There's a lot of Russell T Davies isms in these episodes. I think the structure of having 5 fillers and 5 story-based episodes is destined to fail, and I've already given my thoughts in detail about The Timeless Child, so I don't need to go into all that. I do think The Haunting of Villa Diodati is a great episode and the standout of not just this series but the era, but I don't think that's enough to put it on the same level as Series 7 or Series 10, even though I think I enjoy watching it more than Series 10, so maybe it does deserve B tier. I was incredibly generous to Series 7 and Series 10, especially Series 7, which has just some really god-awful episodes in it, worse than anything in either Series 10 or 12. Yeah, I probably should raise this to B. You know what? You guys are going to call me a Chibnall defender again? Yeah, I'm going to put it in B. A lot of the filler episodes are looked down upon because they are exactly that, but they're still enjoyable. I think Praxeus isn't a god-awful episode. In fact, I thought it was pretty good. The one I really didn't like was Can You Hear Me? That one definitely didn't need to be there, or if it did, you could have made it into something interesting instead of half-baked. And so here we are on the final series, Series 13, aka Flux, one which, have I hidden this well? I don't think I've hidden this well. I love this series. Is it good? Not really. It's kind of a mess. It's kind of dog shit, to be honest. Like, to be perfectly honest, like, if I was being objective here, this series kind of sucks. And yet I love it. It's so good, but it's so bad. But I love it way more than I dislike it. The finale especially is just so messy. Like, there's just so many kind of laughable bits, and yet I still enjoy it so much. I've rewatched Flux a lot. I've watched this series a lot already. It feels like my own special part of Doctor Who because no one ever talks about it or watches it or says they like it. It's only me. So it's like I have a little portion of Doctor Who all to myself. That's what Flux is. I have a big project concerning Flux coming up, and by coming up I mean to be released in the next year. That's a long-term project. Don't expect that soon. But I really delved deep into Flux. I read all of the scripts multiple times. I read them all multiple times over. So I haven't just watched the episodes, I've read all the scripts. And I've gone on all the wikis and I've delved deep into that. And I guess for that sake, I have to raise it to at least a C. Now, to be honest, I want to put in S. But C is where this one belongs. You know what? I'm gonna make a whole new tier above S called Flux. Do I write Flux GOAT? Do I write Flux GOAT? Do I write that? To not give people the wrong impression, I'm gonna put it below F tier and write Flux. But I'm also gonna write 10 out of 10 in brackets. How about that? Well, I think that works as a list. Yeah, I've looked over it. I've decided I'm going to keep Series 1 in S tier. I was going to be mean initially and leave it in A. I don't want to be. I love Doctor Who. I love Series 1. I love Christopher Eccleston. And yeah, maybe if I really wanted to be trying to be different, making sure I don't fit in, I'd put Series 4 in A tier if I really wanted to be controversial. But like, do I really? Nah. I want to be real. And so yeah, I think that is my overall complete list. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Leave a comment below on your thoughts, question mark. I don't know. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I've got more content coming up all throughout this week and the next, so I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in the next one.